The Episcopalian Church will not exist in 30 years, according to the Episcopalian Church. Their annual parochial report of 2019 stated the rate of decline in the church today, if it stays on this pace, which has stayed on this pace since 1960, they've been in decline. In fact, it's only accelerated in recent years. At the pace they're going, by 2015, there won't be one single Episcopalian. So what caused this great decline, and what's their history? So in 1960, or in the 60s rather, the Episcopalian churches were one of the first Christian denominations to support artificial contraception, birth control pills. Then quickly after that, every other Protestant denomination followed them. You know, they just, go with the times, we got to be modern. We got to, be with the culture. Never mind what the church has taught for 2,000 years. Then in the 70s, they supported abortion, which for 2,000 years has been considered a mortal sin. And if you don't think they had abortions in the first century, you need to read up on your history and see what the church said about it. Fortunately, half the Protestant denominations stood their ground and they still are pro-life. But a lot of Protestant denominations followed them. The Methodists and a bunch of other Presbyterians, but the Presbyterians broke off in so many ways. That's why Scott Hahn, a former Presbyterian minister, calls them the split peas. There's probably 50 to 100 different Presbyterian denominations because they can't agree on cultural and doctrinal issues. So Protestantism is chaos, as you already know. However, in the 90s is when they supported gay marriage, Episcopalian Church, and again, a lot of Protestant churches went that way, but there's a good majority of them that are holding the line. Then they supported gay clergy. Then they supported gay clergy getting married. So it's just been like a quick decline since the 1960s on moral issues. And it's funny because a lot of Catholics will say, oh, the Catholic Church is old-fashioned. If we want new members, we want youngers, we got to get modern. We got to get with the times. But the Catholic Church, since Jesus established them in 33 AD, the Catholic Church has been steady. 1.2 billion members. We're not going anywhere. We've been here from the beginning. We were the first church, and we'll be the church that Jesus Christ comes home for. So in my an upcoming video, Breaking Bad Part 2, Why I'm Catholic, that's one of the points I'm going to make, and I'll get more into that. But what's the history of Episcopalian? What are they? Who are they? So the Church of England, I believe it was 1534. The King of England, King Henry VIII, was a Catholic. This was right after the Reformation. England was still Catholic. But he wanted a divorce. He wanted to marry one of his young hotties. And he asked a lawyer, St. Thomas More, who at the time wasn't a saint yet, but Thomas More, to help him convince the Pope to give him a divorce. And Thomas More was a devout Catholic, a godly man, and risking his own life, he said no, and tried to convince the king that this was a mortal sin. The king had Thomas More beheaded for this and then started his own church. Well, I'll just start my own church and I'll be the Pope. And there you have it, the Church of England. The foundation of this church was divorce. The foundation was a mortal sin. And then when the Church of England came to America, after the Revolutionary War, a lot of these Church of England guys were nervous, like, wow, they're going to think that we're loyal to the king. So they changed their name to Episcopalian, which means bishops. We're ruled by the bishops. But they were still closely tied to the Church of England. And over the years, it kind of broke the official ties, like they're not under the authority, like the Catholic Church in America is under the authority of the Pope. They kind of do their own thing, but they believe everything the Church of England does. So They believe the 7 sacraments like the Catholic Church do. However, none of those sacraments are valid. And I have to do a whole nother video explaining why their sacraments aren't valid. That's why Catholics can't go to an Anglican Mass and have communion. That would be a sin. So that'll be a whole nother video. I was going to add it to this, but I realized it would just go on too long. So the bottom line is the foundation of the Episcopalians was sin, and they just snowballed into the fact. The Catholic Church is the only church in history that has clinged to the same teachings of the apostles and of Jesus Christ and have never changed. And we're called outdated, we're called old-fashioned, we're called archaic, but we're not going anywhere. These other ones, you know, they sound cool and modern. People go to them, and then they realize they're just empty. There's no difference. There's nothing there because it's just a man-made church with man-made rules. The Catholic Church is a church established by Christ. That's why it never changes. That's why we have the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist and his blood in the wine. It's the real deal, and it's not going anywhere. And you see all these hip-hop churches, you know, they play the music, whatever's culturally cool at the time. And, you know, people get burnt out. Like, it's just so much emotion, but there's no real substance. It's style over substance. So this is what's causing it. And though, you know, it's not the first church. I mean, if you look up, there's hundreds of Protestant denominations that are no longer exist. The Shakers, the Paulinians, I think they were called. I had a list of them here. Let's see if I can pull it up. But this is not going to be the first. The Glassites, the Muggletonianisms, the Evangelical United Brethren Church, the Universal Church of America. There's a lot of churches that no longer exist. But the Catholic Church for 2,000 years has been here. And a lot of Episcopalians are coming home to the Catholic Church. They're realizing it's the real thing. So if you're an Episcopalian watching this, if you're tired of going through the motions and you're tired of an empty life and you want the real thing, come home to the Catholic Church. You know, God grants us 70, 80 years if we're lucky, live to 100 if you're super healthy and do everything right. But you'll spend eternity somewhere. Life is short. Figure it out. You want to go to the church that's been there, that Christ established, or you want to go to some popular man-made church that's disappearing? I say come home to the Catholic Church, and you'll be blessed. Till next time. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see a good movie about Thomas More, A Man for All Seasons. It was made in like 1966. Yes, I was alive in 1966, but I was too little to watch it. But I got it on a DVD, and it's kind of corny and old, but it's very interesting because it's from what I hear, from what I research, it's pretty factual. It's called A Man for All Seasons, the story of St. Thomas More. And I recommend it to any lawyers that are watching, because he was a lawyer. And if you're a lawyer, ask him for your prayers. Ask him to pray for you. God bless. Stay Catholic.